Something rare is about to happen in the sky, and most people will sleep right through it. You will not. Because something in you, something older than your conscious mind, something that operates below language and logic, already knows a shift is coming. You felt it this week. The strange heaviness in your chest that had no name. The dreams that left residue on your waking hours, like smoke from a fire you cannot locate. The exhaustion that sleep did not fix. The sudden, unbearable awareness of every lie you have been quietly living inside. That was not stress. That was not coincidence. That was the sky preparing you. On April 13th, 2026, at exactly 5:59 a.m. Eastern Time, Mars and Neptune will meet at 0 degrees, 3 minutes of Aries. The absolute threshold of a new astrological age. And what happens in that moment will not stay in the sky. It will come down into your body, into your decisions, into the stories you have been telling yourself to stay comfortable while reality quietly eroded beneath your feet. This is not a gentle transit. This is not a soft, whispered invitation to grow. This is a collision between fire and fog. This is the moment the veil burns. And for 4 specific signs, this is not background noise. This is the main event. Stay with this. What you are about to understand changes everything. Before this window closes, you will understand 3 things. First, what is actually happening in the sky on April 13th and why it has not happened in over a century. Second, the 4 signs that stand at the absolute center of this event and what it personally demands from each of them. Third, and this is the part that transforms disruption into direction. The specific practice that turns this conjunction from something that happens to you into something you consciously move through. Let us begin with what this actually is, because the numbers matter and the timing is not accidental. Mars and Neptune conjunctions happen roughly every 2 years. The sky brings them together. They touch, they separate, but this one is categorically different from every conjunction in living memory. Different from the one in 2024, different from the one in 2022, different from every Mars-Neptune meeting since the mid-1800s. Because Neptune has just crossed into Aries. After 14 years, to moving through Pisces, Neptune has stepped over the threshold into the 1st degree of the 1st sign. The boundary has shifted. The ocean has found a new shore. And the last time Mars and Neptune met in Aries, your great-great-great-grandparents were alive. The Industrial Revolution was reshaping the world. The concept of the modern self was being invented in real time. And now, on April 13th, 2026, in the pre-dawn darkness of the eastern sky, Mars arrives at that exact same threshold and meets Neptune there, at 0 degrees, at the very entry point of Aries, at the place where nothing has accumulated yet, where the sign is raw and new and completely undefended. 0 degrees is not just a number. 0 degrees is a beginning. 0 degrees is the wound before the scar. 0 degrees is pure potential before ego calcifies around it, and the conjunction happens there, at the very edge, at the opening moment, before the sun rises, before most people open their eyes. They now understand what Mercury adds to this picture, because this is where the sky becomes something more than poetic metaphor. On the morning of April 13th, Mercury rises at 5:21 a.m. Eastern Time, 36 minutes before the exact conjunction at 5:59, which means that in the pre-dawn sky, you have 3 planets rising simultaneously, Mars, Neptune, and Mercury, in the same early morning window, low on the eastern horizon, visible to the naked eye if you know where to look, and if you rise early enough to look. 3 planets. The planet of will and war, the planet of dissolution and vision, the planet of thought and communication, all rising together, all positioned in the early degrees of Aries, all arriving before the sun. And behind them, still close, still within the orb of influence, Saturn sits in early Aries as well. building toward its own conjunction with Mars on April 19th. So you have 4 planets in a pre-dawn cluster. A celestial assembly, a convergence that builds through the week, that peaks around April 18th, that does not simply happen and end, but arrives like weather, settles in, and changes the atmospheric pressure of your inner life for days before you can name what shifted. A 15% waning crescent moon hangs in the sky, silver and introspective, pulling the energy inward, away from performance and toward reckoning. And on the night of April 13th into April 14th, Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, transits the face of Jupiter itself, as though even the outer planets are marking the occasion, as though even the moons are bearing witness. This is not one event, this is a sequence, a countdown, a set of nested doors, each one opening into the next, each one requiring you to see more clearly than you did before you walked through it. So, what does Mars conjunct Neptune actually mean? Not symbolically, not abstractly. What does it mean in the body and in the life? Mars is fire. Mars is the will that moves you forward, the force that says, I want, and I will act, and I will not be stopped. Mars is the blood moving fast, the decision made at the edge of fear, the moment you say enough and mean it. Neptune is the opposite of all of that. Neptune is the fog that makes the edge invisible. Neptune is the comfortable story you tell yourself, so you do not have to make the hard decision. Neptune is the glass of wine that takes the edge off the discomfort you were supposed to feel, so that it could teach you something. Neptune is the relationship that feels like love but functions like sedation. In Neptune is every beautiful illusion you have chosen over a difficult truth, because the truth required you to become someone you were not ready to be yet. When Mars meets Neptune, fire meets fog, and one of 2 things happens. Either the fog puts the fire out, confusion overwhelms drive, action becomes impossible, you spin in place surrounded by beautiful reasons why now is not the right moment. Or the fire burns the fog away, and you see, for the first time in a very long time, without the filter of what you wished were true, without the softening layer of what you needed to believe, you see what is actually there. That is what this conjunction offers, not comfort, not confirmation of what you already hoped. It offers sight, real sight, the kind that costs something, and the kind that lands in your chest like a stone dropped into still water and changes the surface forever. Here is what your body already knows, even if your mind has not caught up yet. In the days surrounding this conjunction, before, during, and after April 13th, certain physical sensations tend to rise in people who are sensitive to these energies, and you may already be feeling some of them. Fatigue that is not explained by your activity level, a depletion that runs deeper than tired, as though something at the level of your reserves is being drawn down, asked to power something it cannot name. This is Neptune's signature. This is the cost of dissolution, when the boundaries between what you know and what you have been avoiding begin to thin. It takes energy, real, cellular energy. Your nervous system is doing something even when you are lying still. There is also the matter of your emotional membrane, the invisible barrier between your feelings and everyone else's feelings. Under Mars conjunct Neptune at 0 degrees Aries, that membrane becomes porous. You walk into a room, and you feel the tension that no one is naming. You talk to someone who says they are fine, and you feel that they are not, and you carry their not fineness with you for the rest of the afternoon. And you absorb, you take in, your empathic bandwidth is extended far beyond what is useful or safe. And by the end of a regular day, you feel as though you have been in a crowd for 12 hours, even if you were alone in your apartment. This is psychic overload. This is what Neptune conjunct Mars at the most sensitive threshold of the zodiac does to a body that is paying attention. And then there are the dreams, vivid, strange narrative dreams that feel less like dreams and more like briefings, dreams that leave specific images behind. A door, a face, a body of water, a phrase that does not make sense, but that you cannot stop turning over. These are not random. Your subconscious is processing the same dissolution that the sky is enacting. It is doing the work in the night that your waking mind resists during the day. Let it. Write them down. Do not dismiss them. They know something. Now for the 4 signs that stand at the center of this event. Not every sign feels a transit the same way. Some experience it as background pressure. For these 4, it is foreground. It is immediate. It is personal. It is the entire question. The first is Aries. You are standing at ground zero. The conjunction at 0 degrees Aries is not happening in your neighborhood. It is happening in your living room, at the exact address of your identity, at the threshold of who you are and who you present yourself as, and the gap, if there is one, between those 2 things. For Aries, this conjunction asks a question that cannot be avoided any longer. Who are you when the performance is over? Not who you want to be. Not who you have convinced yourself you are. Not the story that gets applause or admiration, or makes your history feel purposeful. Who are you in the quiet? Who are you when no one is watching, and there is nothing to prove? Mars is your ruling planet. Neptune is the fog. And when your own ruler walks into the fog and burns it away, what remains is the raw, uncoated, 0-degree truth of who you actually are. For some Aries, this is relief. For some, it is the most terrifying thing imaginable. Both responses are correct. Both point to the same place. The second sign is Pisces. Neptune has been your ruler for 14 years in your own sign, and that was both your greatest gift and your greatest trap. You became exquisitely sensitive. You became a conduit for intuition and beauty and vision. You also became very good at living inside a feeling rather than inside a fact. Neptune in Pisces gave you permission to stay soft, to stay in the fog, and to treat uncertainty as spiritual richness rather than as a decision point you were avoiding. And now Neptune has left. It has crossed the threshold, and Mars is meeting it at that threshold. Not to welcome it warmly, but to interrogate it. For Pisces, this conjunction is a closing ceremony for something that ran for a very long time. A chapter that is not just ending, but being examined as it ends. The illusions that served you during the Neptune in Pisces years are due for audit. Not punishment, not shame, audit. With clear eyes and a willingness to say, that was beautiful, and it was also not entirely true, and I am ready now for what is. The third sign is Scorpio. Mars is your traditional ruler, and every time Mars moves into a significant aspect, your underworld activates. Hidden things surface. The power dynamics that were functioning quietly suddenly require a reckoning. Truths that were being managed in the dark get light on them whether you engineered that or not. Under Mars conjunct Neptune, the Scorpio experience is specifically about seeing through a deception. Not necessarily from an outside source, though that is possible, but the quieter kind, the self-deception that has been protecting you from a power you were afraid to fully claim, or a loss you were not ready to fully grieve. Neptune in this conjunction softens the edge of the revelation. It does not arrive as shock. It arrives as recognition, a slow exhale. And a thing you already knew, but had not yet allowed yourself to know out loud. The fourth sign is Virgo. You sit directly across the zodiac from Pisces, which means the Neptune energy in early Aries activates your 7th house. The house of partnerships, contracts, face-to-face relationships, and everything you do with and through another person. For Virgo, this conjunction exposes something in a relationship. Not necessarily a dramatic betrayal, though the aspects do support sudden clarity in that direction. More precisely, it exposes the version of a person or a situation that you have been choosing to see over the version that was always there. Virgo is the sign of discernment, of clear seeing, of the detailed and careful assessment of what is real. And Neptune has been working against your nature for years, softening your analysis, asking you to give benefit of the doubt, past the point where your own intelligence was telling you not to. Under this conjunction, your discernment comes back online, not as cynicism, as sight. There are things you must not do in the window surrounding April 13th. Write these down. Internalize them. Because the energy of Mars conjunct Neptune at 0 degrees Aries does not simply feel philosophical. It has material consequences for decisions made during its influence, and some of those consequences are not easily undone. Do not make irreversible financial decisions during this window. Especially any decision that involves terms that feel unclear, that require you to trust someone you have not vetted, that have the energetic signature of too good to be true. Neptune amplifies the seductive quality of illusion, and Mars gives you enough fire to act impulsively on what feels like clarity but is in fact the fog at its most convincing. Sign nothing important. Not contracts, not agreements, not deals. If something must be signed, have someone you trust read every word of it first. Not because all opportunities in this window are bad, because your perception of what is trustworthy is operating through Neptune's filter right now. And the filter is beautiful and unreliable. Do not confront people while you are emotionally flooded. Under Neptune's influence, words distort. What you intend to say clearly will land strangely. What someone says to you will carry more emotional weight than was intended. The gap between what is communicated and what is received widens under this energy. If there is something that needs to be said, write it first. Wait. Say it after April 15th, when Mars has begun to separate from Neptune, and the air is less thick with projection. Do not use substances to manage this energy. Alcohol and caffeine and anything else that alters your nervous system will be amplified under Neptune's direct involvement. What usually takes the edge off will take it too far off. What usually sharpens your focus will overshoot into anxiety. This is not a window for numbing. This is a window for feeling, clearly and completely, so that what needs to surface can surface on its own terms, rather than being suppressed into a symptom you will have to manage later. And do not ignore the body signals. The fatigue is information. The porous feeling is information. The dreams are information. If your gut is telling you something is wrong about a situation that looks right on the surface, trust the gut. Neptune rules the surface that looks right. Mars rules the gut that knows. Now for what you must do, because this conjunction is not only a warning, it is a doorway. It is a specific portal that opens at a specific moment and does not stay open indefinitely. The ritual is simple. It is not complicated. It does not require tools or training or anything beyond willingness and the courage to be honest with yourself for 10 minutes in the dark. On the morning of April 13th, rise before 5:59 a.m. Eastern Time. Before the conjunction becomes exact, before the sky makes the aspect, let your body be awake and present for it. Sit in darkness or in the light of a single candle. Place a glass of water in front of you. Take a piece of paper and write with your actual hand, not typed, not spoken yet, but written. One illusion you are ready to release. Not the biggest illusion you have ever held. The one that is ready. The one that is already loosening. The one that a part of you has already stopped fully believing, but that you have kept telling yourself because it was easier than the alternative. Write it down as a statement, not a question, a statement. This is the thing I have been pretending. This is the story that is no longer true. Write it the way you would write it if no one would ever read it, because no one will. And then, this is the part that matters. Say it out loud, once. In the dark, to yourself and to whatever is listening in the sky that morning. Speak the truth of it. Let your own voice carry it out of the body where it has been living as weight, and place it in the air where it can be examined. Then burn the paper or tear it into pieces. Not ceremonially, practically. The illusion has been spoken. It does not need to be kept. Then sit for 10 minutes in the quiet, not thinking about the illusion, not analyzing it, or arguing with it, or mourning it. Simply sitting with the question, what becomes possible now? When the fog that this illusion was generating begins to lift, what can you see that you could not see before? What action becomes available that was not available before? What version of yourself gets to exist now that was being blocked by the comfortable lie? Sit with those questions without answering them. Let the answers come in the days that follow. They will. Then drink the water, slowly, the whole glass. It is a simple act, and it is also a statement of intent. Clarity entering the body, something real and clean and nourishing, replacing what was murky and comfortable and draining. If weather and geography permit, step outside and face east just before sunrise. Look low on the horizon. In the pre-dawn darkness of April 13th, Mars and Neptune are visible together with Mercury just above them. A cluster of light just above the place where the sky meets the earth, doing something it has not done since the 1800s. Doing something it will not do again in this configuration until the year 2021. Most people alive today will never see this again. You can see it this morning, before the world wakes up, before your obligations begin, in the quiet and the dark, with one truth you have just spoken and one glass of water you have just drunk, and the eastern sky doing something ancient and new at the same time. The year 2210. Hold that number for a moment, not as a fact, but as a feeling. And the next time Mars and Neptune meet under similarly dark, observable skies, in a configuration like this one. Not in your lifetime. Not in your children's lifetime. Not in their children's lifetime. The humans who will see the next version of this conjunction are separated from you by nearly 2 centuries. They will be looking back at this moment the way we look back at the mid-1800s. As history, as the past, as the world before we were born. And you are here now, on April 13th, 2026, awake before sunrise, holding a piece of paper with a truth written on it, standing at the edge of the first degree of Aries, at the threshold of something that has not existed in the sky in 170-something years. You are not accidentally here. Not one person who reaches this moment has arrived by accident. And something in you, the part that operates below language, below logic, below the constructed story of your life, knew to find this. That same part knows what is written on your paper before your hand has finished writing it. That same part has been waiting for this permission. Permission to stop pretending. Permission to let the comfortable lie complete its sentence and then go quiet. Permission to step out of the fog, not because the fog was always an enemy, but because you have grown too large for it, too real for it, too ready for the next true thing. Aries, the fog has been your hiding place. The illusion of knowing who you are has protected you from the much more electric question of who you are becoming. This conjunction happens in your sign, at your threshold, in your body. The fire that has been your engine for your entire life is meeting the one force that has ever successfully confused it. And they are meeting at the 0 point, the beginning, the unmarked territory of a brand new chapter. What burns in you now, what clears, will set the direction of a cycle you have not yet been able to see. You are not being reset. You are being revealed. Pisces, the door is closing on 14 years. And it is not gentle, and it was never going to be. Neptune was your teacher, and your tempter, and your mirror, and your maze, and you learned extraordinary things inside the dream it built for you. But dreams by definition are not the world, and the world is calling you now with a clarity that feels almost harsh after so many years of beautiful uncertainty. The harshness is not punishment, it is precision. It is what vision feels like when you have been in soft light for a very long time. Scorpio, the hidden thing you have been managing, is about to stop needing to be managed because it is about to be known. And when it is known, even only by you, The energy you have been spending on containment becomes available for transformation. That is the exchange. That is the offer. And Virgo, the person or the situation, you have been giving the benefit of the doubt to pass the point of your own intelligence. The moment of honest assessment is here. Not judgment, not reaction. Assessment. Your clearest mind, looking at what is actually there and being willing to act on what it sees. This is not the end of something good. Let that be clear. The shattering of an illusion is not the loss of the thing the illusion was about. Sometimes the truth of a relationship is better than the fantasy you were protecting. Sometimes the real direction of your life is more thrilling than the story you were telling yourself about why you could not go that direction. Sometimes what waits on the other side of what you have been refusing to see is not devastation. It is the thing you have been circling for years, the thing your instincts have been pointing toward every time your analytical mind looked away, the thing that is not comfortable but is undeniably, unmistakably, finally yours. Mars brings the fire. Neptune dissolves the veil. At 0 degrees Aries, at the threshold of a sign that has never met this combination in your lifetime, or the lifetime of anyone living, the question is asked in fire and answered in clarity. What have you been choosing not to see? And what becomes possible, what becomes real, what becomes yours, the moment you finally see it? Rise before the sun on April 13th. Write the truth. Say it once. Let the paper go. Drink the water. Face east. And watch the sky do something it has not done in over a century and will not do again for nearly 2 more. You are here. You are awake. You are always going to be the one who did not sleep through this.